Hello, I'm Asif Farouk and we're here at the Swift Business Forum in London and I'm speaking to Arun Aggarwal of Swift. Arun, financial crime was a key theme of today's event. Why was that chosen and why now?
Well, we've seen a whole slew of regulations coming through over the last few years indeed, given the general climate, the economic climate, developments in cyber, we have seen, as we from the big institutions through to the small institutions, an awful lot of challenges around failing sanctions, screening requirements, doing business with perhaps somewhat shady individuals, and not by choice, but in error, perhaps. But as a result of that, as we've seen in the US, there's been in particular, there's been huge fines that have been levied on a whole range of organisations. So this has become really hard bang in the centre of the issues that the industry's been facing. And so we really felt that today was a good time to bring a bit of focus on that and talk not just at a big picture level in terms of the concepts, which of course it's important everybody understands the concepts, but then also to drill down and talk a bit about some of the solutions that are out there. And so I think whether it's sanctions, whether it's KYC, AML, all of these areas have become so critically important for the industry. We have seen today, I believe, a very good turnout, partly for that reason, because they see this as so critical to their well-being going forward.
So there's been regulation already implemented, EMIR, SEPA. What do you think the industry has learned from that so far?
Of course, this is an ongoing process, so we're not at the end of the regulatory wave. I think it would be fair to say that the broad landscape of what we're facing in terms of regulation has now been sketched. People can understand the direction, the thrust, the broad parameters. There's a lot of detail still to be filled in. So we're not at the end of the journey at all. But what I do think is, having now understood generally the direction that we're taking, what is the landscape going to look like from a regulatory perspective, organizations are starting to learn how can they embed and integrate meeting regulatory requirements into, I call it, business as usual. Because if you don't do that, then A, it's highly inefficient, and B, there is a distinct risk that you'll end up with reconciliation problems, different things will be reported in different places, and that actually ends up coming to bite you. So I think the idea of embedding or integrating the whole compliance and regulatory requirements with business as usual, so that you can achieve cost-effective compliance, but also more effective compliance, and still be a successful, profitable business. These are the sort of the lessons that I think are starting to be learned. And I think piecemeal solutions for compliance alone is not the way to go, and people are starting to really appreciate that and act upon that.
And as we know, it's not over there. There's regulation yet to be implemented. What challenges does that pose for the industry?
Well, as I say, I think that we know that there will be a lot more reporting requirements, and not just reporting requirements. At the end of the day, there'll be a lot more real-time reporting requirements. And I think that reporting, monitoring, really understanding the drivers behind the business that you do, you will have to understand it for yourself, but you'll also demonstrate that to your regulators. That you really have a handle, intraday liquidity management has been a good case in point, where the regulators in the UK in particular have really pushed hard to ensure that organisations have in place the systems and the processes to really understand where are they and can take action and can really manage on a real-time basis intraday liquidity. So I think this whole real-time challenge is going to come right bang into focus over the next couple of years, both regulatory, but even from an economic perspective. More and more customers are demanding real-time type of responses. And so I think there's a convergence of that, but certainly in the regulatory world, it will also be a feature.